Hey everyone, Brian Zane here with a brief little caveat before this video. This is in fact a re-upload. In fact, it's actually a re-upload of my classic Goldberg in WWE episode from way back at the end of season 1, several years ago. This video was blocked some time ago on copyright violation grounds. Then I re-uploaded it after making some changes. Then late last year, right around the time Goldberg was coming back in the company, this video was blocked again. So that's totally not a coincidence. I tried fighting the block, it didn't work. So now, much like the last time I had a video blocked on this channel, I made some small aesthetic changes to it and have re-uploaded it. Hopefully, third time's the charm with this one. If you have already seen this video in the past, then thank you for your support. You don't need to watch this one again. No one's making you. But if you have not seen this video before and you want to learn more about what happened to Goldberg the last time he was in WWE, enjoy.
If there's one thing I've learned these last 15 years of watching wrestling, I've learned that when a wrestler jumps from one promotion to the other, in most cases the grass is almost never greener. I mean, take a look at Taz and the review I did about his WWE career only last week. Taz's story is just one of the many in which a guy will jump ship, it doesn't matter where or when in time, and finds himself in the same position on the card as he was in the place that he left, and sometimes even worse. Meanwhile, you can count on one hand the number of guys who actually did better in WWE than they did in ECW or WCW, and that was only after years of putting in work. In Taz's case, it was the story of a big fish in a small pond moving to an ocean. This week on Wrestling with Regret, we take a look at another big name from another company in the Monday Night Wars who floundered in WWE, the man called Goldberg. The goalie! No, not that Goldberg. I'm talking about Bill Goldberg, you know, the wrestler. What? Why? What? One of the very few stars that WCW created on their own during the wars, Goldberg was part of some of the biggest moments for WCW in their battle for supremacy against the WWF. With the exception of some missteps near the end of the company's history, he was booked relatively well, but when he finally came to work for what was once his competition, he only stayed for one lackluster year and has since bowed out of wrestling entirely. Today we take a look at how it all went down. For those of you who don't know, a bit of background. Bill Goldberg, a former pro football player, took up pro wrestling in 1996. From September 97 until December 98, Goldberg racked up an ungodly undefeated streak, which was probably a little inflated, winning championships along the way. After losing the WCW title in dumb fashion to Kevin Nash, Goldberg was never really able to regain his footing at the top of the food chain in the company. Whether it was injuries, questionable booking, forcing the early retirement of Bret Hart, starring in an awful movie, etc., Goldberg was in a really weird position where he was involved in a lot of stuff, but nothing ever really meaningful or for a championship. I call this Chris Jericho and WWE syndrome. He got injured and was off TV shortly before WCW went out of business in 2001, and that was the last we saw of Goldberg for a very long time. Fast forward to 2003, with Steve Austin and The Rock bowing out of wrestling at around the same time, WWE needed a new star, so Goldberg was signed to a one-year contract. And right there, the fact that it was established early on as a one-year contract should have been a huge red flag to anyone watching this to realize that this was not going to be a healthy relationship between Goldberg and WWE. Now, I mean, they don't give one-year contracts to pro wrestlers usually. They usually give them to journeyman football players or basketball players who are on the verge of retirement. And sure, I'm sure if things went a certain way, they could have extended the contract, but for all we know, this was clearly a red flag. It's the day after Wrestlemania 19. The Rock had defeated Steve Austin the night before and seemed ready to bow out.
The Rock will tell you this right now.
Oh man, this is it! Goldberg is gonna come out! Oh my god, this is gonna be so awesome! He's gonna come out and be all badass and wait, what? No, don't show him now! Why do they cut to the back like that and spoil it? I mean, we all knew it was Goldberg, but a little more build-up would have been nice! So aesthetically, things were off to a bit of a rocky start, but the fact remained, Goldberg was in WWE, the crowd was hot for him, and he was ready to kick some ass. A week or two after his debut, Goldberg is greeted by one of his new co-workers.
Put it on your head if it's okay. Yeah, damn, that looks good.
Oh man, Goldust, you don't do that. You don't put a wig on Goldberg. Oh man, he's gonna destroy you.
You know, I appreciate it very much, I really do. Thanks for the gesture.
With a thank you? This is wrong. This is wrong on a great number of levels. You don't put a blonde hair wig on Goldberg and then be met with no punishment. Do you know what would have happened if someone did that to him in WCW? Goldberg would have beat him up and then crushed his car. But here, he wears the wig for a whopping 10 seconds before taking it off and issuing a mild threat.
Don't ever put that on my head again, okay?
If WWE wants to make you a badass, oh, they'll make you look like a badass. Look at Brock Lesnar. Look at Bobby Lashley. Look at Ryback until they pissed away his potential late last year. Putting a wig on Goldberg was no accident. It was no fleeting lapse of judgment before going back to their intended goal of making Goldberg a badass. This singular moment immediately emasculated Goldberg. What do you remember more about his time in WWE? His world title victory or him wearing that damn blonde wig? Over the next couple of months, Goldberg's run would have some awesomeness peppered in, like defeating The Rock at Backlash, beating Rodney Mack in the infamous White Boy Challenge in record time, destroying 3-Minute Warning as well as part of the Barricade, but his biggest moment would come when he challenged Triple H for the World Heavyweight Championship. The original plan was for the two to have a one-on-one match at SummerSlam, then it suddenly got switched up to a 6-man elimination chamber match. From everything I've read, Goldberg did a very bad thing and said no to Vince McMahon. See, Triple H was working injured at the time, and Vince McMahon wanted Goldberg to take his place in an Australian tour, but Goldberg declined and the match was changed as punishment. This is where it gets kind of hard to defend Goldberg during this time. See, as awesome a presence as he was in the ring, he was known for having a terrible attitude outside of it. He could have really stepped up and earned some brownie points with the boss by taking a co-worker's place on the tour, but instead he said no, and in WWE, that's something you just don't do.
Look out, look out, look out!
Oh yeah, down goes Orton. Down goes Michaels.
Every beating heart inside!
Down goes Jericho. Oh man, now all he has to do is beat Triple H.
There's a crowd chanting for Goldberg!
Oh, look at him go. Oh man, Triple H is getting his ass kicked. Like that. Triple H literally did nothing in that match but get his ass kicked. This is how they covered up his injury. As soon as his chamber door opened, Shawn Michaels knocked him out with apparently the most devastating sweet chin music in history, as Triple H stayed down for what felt like 20 minutes until Goldberg got in. But one sledgehammer shot and boom, that's it. Just kill Goldberg dead and all the momentum that he had going for him. I understand that him losing the match was probably an extension of the punishment he received for snubbing Vince earlier, but that's no excuse for this. Triple H was hurt, he needed time off. Why not just have Goldberg destroy Triple H like he did everyone else and be the champ for a while? The timing was perfect! And let me just say this for the record so no one says anything. I've never been a big fan of Goldberg's. I never really cared for his in-ring talent or his personality, but even I know a world-class dicking over when I see one. So 1 month later, Goldberg does what he should have done at Summerslam and beat Triple H for the world title. It was nice for him to finally win the thing, but in my opinion it was just too little too late. I understand the concept of a face chasing the belt for a few months before he finally gets the big win. But you see, Goldberg's character was never one to chase anything. He just walked in, pummeled a guy, and won. That's it! Winning at SummerSlam would have made a much bigger impact, but by losing in such derpy fashion 1 month, then finally getting the belt the next, it really damaged his character in WWE. Goldberg held onto the belt for 3 whole months, which is nothing to sneeze at. We'll never know if his title reign would have been an interesting one, since he spent the entirety of it fighting off Evolution and Triple H. It all came to a head at Armageddon in a triple threat match involving Kane.
Just choking each other. Kane almost to one knee. Oh!
Goldberg's busy trying to fight somebody else for a change when Triple H hits him in the balls and steals his title. Oh, the symbolism! We fast forward to January. Goldberg is fighting in the Royal Rumble match when WWE Champion Brock Lesnar decides to cost Gold the match for no real discernible reason. 1 month later at No Way Out, Lesnar fights Eddie Guerrero for the WWE title. It was an awesome moment for fans of Guerrero's work, but the tiny detail the company likes to omit these days is how it actually happened.
Wait a minute! What the hell? Spear! That's Goldberg!
Goldberg got his payback for what happened at the Rumble, and the now former champion has something to say.
Give me Brock Lesnar versus Goldberg!
Yeah, what?
Brock Lesnar versus Goldberg!
So you're not going to invoke your rematch clause against Guerrero? I mean, why is he not your first priority? I mean, you even said so yourself in this promo.
That championship was my life. That title was everything to me. Eddie Guerrero stole my title! Brock Lesnar versus Goldberg!
Those two things are direct opposites. opposites of each other. If the WWE Championship is your life, then why aren't you going after Eddie Guerrero, the WWE Champion? Why are you wasting your time with Goldberg? So the match was on for WrestleMania 20. Brock Lesnar versus Goldberg, two giants among men who received very similar pushes early in their careers and who had been compared to each other very often. And to make things even more interesting, Stone Cold Steve Austin was named the special referee. The thing is, just about everyone on Earth knew how this match was going to end. I mean, Goldberg's one-year contract was wrapping up after WrestleMania. Meanwhile, Brock Lesnar was a regular. He was a mainstay in WWE. So it only makes sense for the older guy to pass the torch on to the younger guy who's going to be there for a long, long... Are you kidding me? Well, that's just great. Goldberg's contract's running out, and Lesnar's taking his newly bought private jet to a failed stint in the NFL. Who the hell am I supposed to root for now? The referee who's been retired for a year and is never getting back in the ring? Oh boy, shut up and take my money! I'm not going to go into the details of this match because even people who barely follow wrestling know that it was a stinker. The styles didn't mesh well, the two gave up, the crowd gave them hell. It was just a tough match to watch. TLDR, Goldberg beat Lesnar clean, and Austin as the referee didn't make a damn bit of difference. The only satisfaction people got in the end was seeing a glimpse of the dream match that never was. And thus ends the legend of Bill Goldberg in WWE. You know, even though I can't say he was my favorite wrestler, even I would have to admit that he got majorly shafted almost from day one. From the way they had handled his debut to how his run at the world title went to his catastrophic departure, and God, that stupid wig. WWE had a very popular talent practically gift wrapped for them, and they went ahead and bungled it all up. But don't get me wrong, I'm not saying Goldberg was an innocent victim in all this. Like I said, his locker room attitude was the pits. He even got himself involved in an infamous backstage scuffle with Chris Jericho.
It was just ridiculous, and then I said, "You're being an asshole," and he went, "Your mother's a fucking asshole." What? And Booker T goes, "Did you just say your mother's an asshole?"
And what's even more damaging to Goldberg's case is that it sounds like he didn't want to be there to begin with.
A reason why I wasn't smiling so much is because I was part of a company or a business that put programming out that I wasn't a big fan of.
So you didn't like the product that the company was churning out at the time, yet it didn't stop you from picking up a paycheck for a year. Boy, you are one honorable man. Should he have been the guy to carry the company for 5+ years? No, absolutely not. But for someone as popular as Goldberg was, there just seemed to be a lot of missed opportunities to strike while the iron was hot. If you were only going to have this guy for 1 year, then would it really have killed you to have used him better? I guess we'll have to wait and see if Goldberg ever gets a second chance in a WWE ring now that he's been signed on to be a part of the new video game coming out later this year, in which you get to recreate the Goldberg-Lesnar match from WrestleMania 20. Which, lol! I'm Brian Zane, and this has been Wrestling with Regret. I'll see you next time.
Got New World Order.